part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Welcome to another Reghi Roda podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Shout out to our fantastic producer, Cordts, who makes sure everything sounds good and you're able to get it out there in the podcatosphere. And Michael Reghi, before we even get started, I got to give a shout out to my dentist, Tom Bilski in Independence, Ohio, because yesterday I bit down on a damn olive pit and cracked my tooth. You ever have a cracked tooth like that, Reghi?
Oh, yeah. Those olive pits, they'll do it.
Son of a
peach pits, plum pits. I've done it all.
Oh, yeah. So cracked that sucker yesterday. Tom was able to get me in today. I have to get a crown put on that sucker. He gave me a temp crown today, and I'll go back and get the full crown. But Tom, he and I went to college together at Baldwin-Wallace. He was a hell of an athlete, Reghi. He was football and baseball at Baldwin-Wallace. He could hit the crap out of a baseball, man. But he's an Ohio State grad and a dentist, one of the best in the area. So, Tom, thanks for getting me in, because without him, I'm not doing the RnR podcast tonight, Reghi.
Way to go, Tom. Then, this is for Tom tonight.
Absolutely.
Dr. Tom.
I dedicate this Reghi and Roda podcast to Dr. Tom Bilski Dental and Independence. Without him, there is no podcast tonight. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, and our thank yous to Tom and his fantabulous staff, Michael Reghi, it was also not just Chip Your Tooth Day, Roda. It was Final Cutdown Day in the National Football League today. Every team by 4 p.m. on Tuesday, August 27th, had to be down to their 53-man roster. And while it's down to 53, this is something to keep in mind, Michael. And Kevin Stefanski, I'm quoting him here today from his press conference. It's the first 53, not the final 53. So every team had to get to that number. And we'll talk about what changes maybe we think they're going to make to their current 53-man roster as it stands. Michael, surprising cuts to you, anybody, or no?
Little bit surprised. I think he's going to come back, Roadman, but I'm a little surprised they cut D'Onta Foreman, the 240-pound powerful running back. That, of course, with Nick Chubb, who's going to start on the PUP list. So, but I do think Foreman's going to find his way back on that 53, Ken, because right now, as you alluded to with Kevin Stefanski, it's just the beginning of the 53. 10 days away? 12 days away from the season opener, right?
September 8th against the Cowboys, yeah.
Against the Dallas Cowboys. So I got a feeling D'Onta Foreman is going to find his way back in the roster. So we got finalized anyway. Nick Chubb's going to miss the first 4 at least.
Right.
Let's hope on the PUP list. Let's hope that is all it is. So, partner, I'll throw it back to you. How do you feel right now? And again, just right now, tonight.
Yep.
Jerome Ford is the 1 at the running back position. Pierre Strong is the 2. Do they bring back Foreman? I think they will. Or are they looking at cut lists around the NFL and maybe grabbing somebody there?
Bingo. I think that's it, Michael. I think they know what they have in Foreman. Okay, and he had that injury early in camp. Thank goodness he's okay. He was carried off on a stretcher out in West Virginia. But so they got to see what he offers. I think what they want to do is look and see who's available out there that teams cut, or who did other teams keep on their roster that they really don't want to keep on their roster, but they might try and get a draft pick for, just like the Browns. Ain't no way Browns are keeping 4 quarterbacks, Michael Reghi, on the 53-man roster. Okay?
Partner, I sure as hell hope not. I figured it was either DTR or Tyler Huntley. One of them is going to be behind Deshaun Watson, right? I thought one of them would get cut today. You cut either Huntley or DTR, and you're back to 3.
Right.
Yep. But here they are with 4, although I bet you dollars to donuts that's going to change. It'll get back to 3 by the opener.
I guarantee you, okay, on Sunday, September 8th, 4:25 p.m. against the Dallas Cowboys, the Browns will have 2, probably 3, but not 4 quarterbacks. And I think what they're trying to do, Michael, with DTR and Snoop Huntley, as he was being called in camp, is see if anybody out there might give them a draft pick for one of those 2 guys. Because if you cut them, then anybody can pick them up. So they thought, you know what? Let's juggle this roster. Let's make some cuts today that we think we'll be able to bring back to our 53 or to our practice squad, because we don't think other teams are going to have an interest in them. But there's got to be a team out there in this league of lack of quarterback depth that thinks maybe DTR or Tyler Huntley, Snoop, right, would be worthy of a 7th round draft pick, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, hope it can get a 6, but, either way, it's going to be, in that bottom tier of the draft, either a 6 or a 7. And so now now a lot of this, Kenny, is in the hands of Andrew Berry, the general manager, because now it's his baby to start to wheel and deal for the next close to a couple of weeks around this 53 man that currently has just 2 running backs on the roster, 2 tight ends only on the roster for a team that loves using tight ends, as we know, offensively, and yet the 4 QBs. So the 4 QBs is going to change. But Ken, to me, you got with Chubb down for the first month, I got to see another running back on this roster, and I'd like to see another big, predominantly blocking tight end as well. To go along with, of course, David Njoku, one of the best in the business. But, that initially, it's early. I give you that. But I was mildly surprised that there's only 2 running backs currently on the 53-man and 2 tight ends, Ken.
I think that will change. Both of those positions will add one more player to it before the opener against Dallas. I think, I'll be honest with you, David Bell, I don't know why the hell he's still on the roster, other than he was a draft pick and they cut one of their draft picks, Siaki Ika, right? They got rid of him. So it doesn't look good when a GM's cutting his own draft picks, right? So they got rid of one. They probably didn't want to get rid of 2. But for me, David Bell, they could cut his ass, and I'd lose no sleep over that whatsoever. So maybe he's on this first 53, but not on the final 53. If they can go out and pull somebody's tight end that was cut, or, if they get a draft pick for a quarterback, take that draft pick and then trade that for a running back or a tight end, Michael.
Well, but I'm with you about, I think you raise a strong point in that, when, I don't care if it's 5th, 6th round, 7, I don't care. When a GM cuts a player he drafted within a couple of years, right, Ken? I mean, that I can't imagine that's a good feel for a general manager. And you mentioned 2, and of course 3, really, because they moved Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's another one. Andrew Berry draft pick that was moved. So really, it's 3 draft picks that have been part of their drafts in the last 3 years have now been moved and are not on the roster.
Reg, I don't know what it is about wide receivers. He can trade for them, it looks like, but he can't draft them, right? So we're going to see if Ced Tillman has an impact this year. Jamari Thrash, but Judy, Cooper, and Moore are the 3 vets.
That's right.
And then we'll
all traded for, right?
Right. Yeah.
Every all 3 of them.
Yep. So drafting them, not good. Trading for them, not bad. But I got to believe they're going to add to that running back room and that tight ends room. And one of it starts with either cutting one of those quarterbacks or trading them. They'll try and trade Huntley or DTR first. If not, then they'll cut one of them and then pick up one of those 2 positions, I think, at least, if not some others. As I look around, what did you think of Devin Bush making the team?
I was a little surprised.
So was I.
A little surprised he made the football team. Again, he's He's a smallish linebacker. I mean, quite a bit about him because he
Yep.
was a Pittsburgh Steeler, as he was drafted by the Steelers, out of Michigan,
Yep.
and started early in his career for the first couple of years. Did he not?
Yes.
Steeler.
Yep.
And then kind of fell out of favor with Mike Tomlin, evidently, and off
For
he
the
comes.
ACL too, right?
Oh, that's
tore
right.
the knee up.
You're right. So had that situation that kind of detoured him, but
Yep.
yeah, I was a little bit surprised again but we probably put it in the category. He's on this current 53 that came out earlier on Tuesday.
Yep.
But will he be there on September 8th? But again, what I believe it's what they keep 5 linebackers. Do I have that right, or is it 6?
It's 6, counting Bush, Diabate, Fields, Hicks, JOK, and Watson. Those 6.
How do you feel about that position group right now with those 6?
There's one linebacker I feel good about, one I'm okay with, and the rest are question marks for me, Michael.
There you go. There you go. So that's a position group that you got to think Andrew Berry is going to put some emphasis on, or at least put it at the top of the food chain, right? About he's got to add there, I think, before that opener. I don't feel great about that position group, Ken, as it currently stands.
But do they, like the running back position, is the linebacker position devalued by them? And therefore, okay, we've got JOK, Diabate, they seem to like. Hicks, is somebody I think they have faith in. They're hoping Tony Fields turns into something. Watson, I don't know much about, to be honest with you. Maybe it's just not a position of what they feel is a big need because of the defensive style they play, where the up front guys are more important than the up front, and the rear end guys, right, and the secondary are more important than the middle guys.
Well, and I got a feeling that, maybe they believe too, like I said, I was surprised, but maybe they feel they saw enough that they feel like they can resurrect Devin Bush and get his career back. Again, a guy who was a 2 or 3 year starter in the division for the Steelers and played some solid football earlier in his career. So maybe that is a factor that went into their thinking as well. But we're going to find out. But to me, running backs, tight ends, and as we just went through, a little bit lesser degree, linebackers, I'm going to be looking real closely at those 3 position groups, Kenny.
Yeah, those are the areas I'm looking at as well. I'm going to throw one more thing, because JT and I were talking about this on the Kenny and JT show, WHBC, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7, 1480 AM. Jameis Winston. Last year, they were infatuated with Dorian Thompson-Robinson's preseason, so much so that they made him their backup quarterback to start the season, right?
Yep.
And then he goes out and has another pretty good preseason, which to me doesn't mean a doodly squat, because most of the guys you're playing against aren't going to be in the NFL, but he has another really good preseason. If somebody came to them and said, hey, Jameis Winston, what's it going to take to get him off your roster? Do you think the Browns, and what would it take to trade him and make DTR the 2 and Huntley the 3 by trading Jameis Winston?
Well, given he right now is the pretty much unquestioned, qualified backup, right, to Deshaun Watson, you're going to have to pay for that. If a team's going to get him, Ken, it's going to be to what? It's going to be their starter.
More
I can't
likely,
imagine. Yeah, right. I can't imagine someone saying, "Yeah, well, we're going to bring going to bring in Jameis Winston to be our backup, and we're going to give up 2 draft picks for." I just can't see that happening. So if a team really is earnest about having him with them on their roster, I got to think it would be as they're looking at their quarterback situation and saying, Could we get more out of him than we're getting out of what we currently have? And again, if somebody wants him, I got to believe it's that he's going to be their guy.
Because I sit here and I think about this as, the package sent to to Houston for the Deshaun Watson trade. That's over and done with now, right? But they're still trying to recoup, extra draft picks. So I've got to wonder if somebody calls them and say, hey, would you take a third for Jameis Winston? Would they do that? Because they have a veteran in Huntley who's much better than Kid Dynamite, PJ Walker, and some of the other guys that they used at quarterback last year. And if you believe in DTR because you drafted him, even though it was a 5th-round pick, right? You feel good about those two as your backups, then I could see Andrew Berry being tempted maybe to trade Jameis Winston if the draft compensation is good enough.
Understood. Do they feel that strongly, though? Again, we can discuss it. How do you feel about DTR?
I think he stinks.
Or Tyler Huntley.
And I'm not a fan of his either, so I would keep Jameis Winston.
Yeah, and you and I have not talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm with you 1,000,000%. I don't like either one of them.
Yep.
I have no confidence or great feeling about if either one of those two guys had to play for 3, 4, 5 games, the Browns are in a world of hurt, man.
Yeah.
They're in a world of hurt. I don't think either one of them are capable backups that could go in and play. And like we just said, when a backup's got to play for 3 to 5, 6 weeks, well, now you find out really now what's going down then about what your football team is going to be capable of in the regular season. I don't have a good feeling about either one of those guys being starters in this league.
I'm with you 100%, and that's why I just wanted to throw the Winston thing out there. But if it's me, I'm keeping Winston, and I'm trying to get whatever I can for DTR or Tyler Huntley. But they're going to have to do something with one of them, and that's either trade them or cut them because you're not taking 4 to the opener against Dallas. All right, Reg, we're just getting started on this. Obviously, Ty Cordts, our producer's waving at us. We flew through 15 minutes already on this. Let's come back and talk more, Browns, about this the first 53-man roster that they put out today, and maybe, what other areas they need to adjust, or we think they will make moves to better settle their 53-man roster before that September 8th opener at home against the Dallas Cowboys. And we'll do that when the RnR podcast continues right here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tyvis Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tyvis, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
The RnR podcast continues here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Kenny Roda, Michael Reghi and Roda. We're with you. RnR talking football, and more football because here we are just a week or so away from the opener. Cowboys in Cleveland to take on the Browns September 8th, 4:25 at Cleveland Brown Stadium. And the first 53-man roster revealed today by Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. And Michael, we dove into some of the areas that we think are going to change. Like Kevin said, it's the first 53, not the final 53-man roster. We haven't talked offensive line, and I wanted to get into that with you because a number of guys that were injured on the offensive line passed their physicals, but not all of them practiced today. The good news is Jack Conklin did practice today. The bad news is Jedrick Wills Jr. did not practice today. So when you look at the 10 offensive linemen that they kept and this injury situation that's happened to them at right tackle and at left tackle, and not knowing who the starting left tackle is right now, how confident are you about the 10 linemen that they kept? And who are you starting at left tackle?
Jack Conklin.
Okay.
You got to move him over.
Okay.
Right? I mean, he's played the position before. Now, I'm going to be the first to say that probably his strong niche has been on that right side in his NFL career. But with Wills not even practicing, I think Conklin has already taken a lot of reps at that left tackle spot, Kenny. So because of the, a veteran, and it's good that he's back because, as you know, he's had a knee situation that has kept him out. So he came back today and practiced the entire way. So, but yeah, that's where I'm going. How about you? I'm moving Conklin over. So at least I know I got a veteran over there, a guy that's, been through all these wars, dealing with defensive ends and outside backers in the NFL for years and years. That's what I'd feel best about right now, Ken, right off the top.
Even healthy, I'm not a Jed Wills fan. So if he's not healthy, for sure as hell, I ain't playing him anywhere. Okay.
There you go. So
the 25-year-old first-round pick out of Bama instead of Tristan Wirfs, that's on Andrew Berry for making that major mistake. Yep. I use him as a backup. I'm with you. If Conklin, and he's got the footwork down again to switch back to left tackle, and you start DeJuan Jones at right tackle, I'm fine with doing that because we know the interior is pretty solid with Batonio at one guard spot, Wyatt Teller at the other, and Posick at center. And Nick Harris is your backup center. That's fine. Zinter, the rookie out of Michigan, he made the team as one of those 10 offensive linemen. He's a guy that can play a couple of positions there.
Inside guy, probably better suited as a guard.
Right. James Hudson, I have no faith in starting him at either tackle spot.
Right.
So as a backup, okay, I guess he was a draft pick. You're not going to cut another one of your draft picks. So I'm with you. If Conklin is healthy, I'm moving him over to the left. Jones is my right. And then when Wills is ready to come back, whenever that might be, then he's my swing guy, my extra tackle when they want to bring in an extra tackle, right? In short yardage situations, that's fine. But that's the way I'm using Jedrick Wills. And I hate to say this, but Conklin always seems to get hurt anyway. So that means Wills will probably end up being a starter again at some point this year.
Well, then, he's got to take large steps, right? And I don't mean in his pass pro setup large steps. I mean large steps in his overall ability to play the damn position.
Amen.
Because if they don't get anything out of him, I mean, I tell you, I think we all like Andrew Berry, but Kenny, as he looks at some of this in his private moments, I'm wondering if the man is saying, damn, how did some of this stuff go so bad? Or at least, if not that so bad, not being rectified those positions at where they selected them in the draft. Because when you're especially, Ken, O-lineman, right? O-lineman, man, you have got to be a master craftsman when you're a general manager, player personnel guy, the guy making the decisions on the roster. Man, you got to make sure you get that O-line. If you're really definitively, thinking that you're a championship contender, well, show me a football team that has a paltry offensive line that ever no, it doesn't happen that way. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a work in progress. And, other than Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, I kind of think you got to plug this in and just see what's working each week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I would start Conklin and go from he's 30, Wills is 25, 5-year age difference, but Conklin was a Pro Bowler, all pro caliber player at least at some point in his career. Wills will never be that, in my opinion. So I'm going with Conklin.
Way to go, doesn't he?
Yeah,
if you're talking about that rarefied air,
right?
Hell, he's got a long way to go.
Right. So that's the way I would look at it right now, because I got to do whatever I can to protect it. And we finally get to him, Deshaun Watson, who did not play in Seattle in the final preseason game, hasn't played.
Why? Can you tell me why?
And they were afraid of getting him hurt because the left tackles were all injured.
You help me, because evidently nobody is Kevin Stefanski isn't, or Andrew Berry isn't. Why in the hell? Even Kenny, a series would it have been like totally out of the question to play your starting quarterback a series or two last Saturday night in Seattle? I was like damn surprised when they.
I was not. In fact, I even made the prediction on the Kenny and JT show. There was no way in hell Stefanski was going to play Watson in Seattle when we heard his shoulder was a little sore from throwing and that all the left tackles were hurt, Reg. And I think that may have been the biggest reason why they didn't play him. Okay.
Yeah.
If the left tackles would have been healthy, maybe he's out there for a series, possibly two. But because the shoulder was bothering him a little bit from throwing, that's what they tell us. And those left tackles were hurt. That's why I think they said, you know what, we're not going to risk it. But guess what? This guy hadn't played in a game in over 300 days. Second half against the Baltimore Ravens last year is when he last played. So
almost a full calendar year.
Yeah. So you're looking at that. And you're opening up, against the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons and company, right? With the bad taste in their mouth coming into your building on national TV with Tom Brady doing the game. That's going to be, if it's Conklin, if it's Wills, if it's Hudson, whoever on that left side, they better be ready to protect Deshaun Watson, because if he goes down, even if they keep Jameis Winston, they got no chance of doing anything this year without a healthy Deshaun Watson, who needs to play at least 15 of the 17 games, in my opinion, this season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, I think they got to get him out there all 17. And have him start and be playing effectively. But, look, I mean, that's the only shot, an effective and productive Deshaun Watson that takes this offense and just has it make a legitimate step, in the positive direction for its ability to put points on the board and move the football and go on drives that you're not running your defense out there every 3-4 downs and got to get them back on the football field. Large onus on him in that offense, Kenny. Large onus on them.
What are your realistic expectations for Deshaun Watson this year? He's played in 12 games since he was acquired in that massive trade. $230 million contract. He's, I guess, technically 8-4 as a starter for the Browns, even though he didn't finish, a couple of the games. What are your expectations, realistic ones for him this year?
All right, this is going on that, and again, fingers crossed, right? That he plays all 17. Mm-hmm. The numbers I'm going to give you for me are contingent on him playing all 17. I need him to win at least 10 football games. I don't think that's unrealistic. You got to be able to go I know the division's good. I understand the division's good. And you're playing 6 of those 17 against the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals and who the hell am I? Pittsburgh Steelers, right?
Yep.
6 of them against them. But, 3-3 against your division has got to be I think the bottom game of that. But Kenny, overall, I need 10 wins from him. I'd like to see him to get back into that, 33 to 3,700 yards passing. Is 22 to 25 touchdown passes. I mean, come on now. You got quarterbacks in this league now, 30 TD passes and over. That's what the good ones do, right? And so those are the type of things I'm looking for from Deshaun Watson, but be able to lead your football team again. Need 10 wins, Ken. I need at least 10 wins. And I don't know. I know our last show we talked 10-7. What's that going to be good for?
That's a great question. Right. Great question.
Neither one of us came up with a real definitive answer on it. Let's say 10-7. Where's that going to place the Browns in the pecking order in the AFC North?
I don't think it wins the division. I think 11 is the magic number to guarantee you win the division. 10 may get you in as a wild card,
right?
But I don't think it wins you the division. And I'll just go. I'm picking the Bengals to win the division. I like Cincinnati over Baltimore. And the Browns 10 win. And I'm with you. Here are my expectations for Deshaun Watson. Okay.
Yep.
I'm with you on double-digit wins. I'll say double-digit wins. I expect.
That's a minimum of 10 then.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the minimum. Double-digit wins. 3,700 yards passing. Okay. And 30 total touchdowns, whether that's 27 passing, 3 rushing, whatever. I need minimum 30 total touchdowns from Deshaun Watson and 3,700 yards passing this year from him to go along with those double-digit wins. Those are my, I think, realistic expectations based on what they're telling us, what they're paying him, and what you need to do to be successful in this division and in this league.
Yeah, I'm with you on. Hey, from your lips to God's ears, if he can find a way to total between arm and legs, put 30 touchdowns on the board, Kenny, I really believe the Browns are going to be in good shape if he can do that. 26 touchdown passes and 4 rushing touchdowns, 27 and 3, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I hope you're right. My gut tells me that's a little bit on the high end.
Okay.
For what they're able to do. But, I mean, a lot of that is contingent upon, is a healthy Nick Chubb playing the last 13 games of the year? I mean, that's going to immediately give that offense a huge boost, and we'll cross everything we've got, fingers, toes, all of it, and hope that is the case. To get Chubb back, that will be huge for this football team. And but yeah, Watson's got to bring it this year, Ken. I mean, there's no question about that. He's got to bring it. Don't you agree? I think he's already kind of on the downside. I don't see, and I don't think I'm reading it wrong. When I look at all the fan base stuff, I don't see a whole lot of strength and backing and positivity for Deshaun Watson. Am I wrong? Do you?
No, I'm with you on that because you know why? Joe Flacco set the bar so high in his final 5 games of the regular season. Now he stunk in the playoff game. So some people may remember that. Maybe they don't, but because of the success he had in Stefanski's offense, they're going to expect Deshaun Watson to be able to throw for 300 yards. And throw touchdown passes, right?
Yep.
So he averaged, 2 touchdown passes a game, Flacco did in the regular season.
He did.
And so because of them seeing somebody else run that offense and have success with it, the pressure's on. It's put up time for Deshaun Watson, right? I mean, he's getting paid no matter what.
Million %. No question about that. He's got to have a year of strength and a year of leadership, and maybe the most important, a year of winning for this football team. Winning. Listen, and he's got to be the main component of that, regardless of, whether if you're a big Deshaun Watson, follower and devotee, that's great. But the point is that he has got to get this done. He's being paid in the upper echelon of the quarterbacks in the National Football League. He's got a lot of questions surrounding his capability to get that done. Kenny, he's got a chance now, right? He's got a chance to make a lot of people eat it and prove a lot of people wrong and make a lot of people shut their mouths about him, does he not?
Absolutely. Here's his opportunity, right? Cooper, Judy, Moore, wide receivers, and Njoku, tight end, Ford, strong, and we hope Nick Chubb at some point back. A decent offensive line that Joe Flacco was able to play behind last year and produce numbers, right? So, yeah, it's put up or shut up time for Deshaun Watson. And so, we'll see if he's able to deliver on what they paid him to do, $230 million worth. And that is win a division and take this team deep into the playoffs and dare I say, to a Super Bowl where they've never been.
Got to win 10 football games. I look, with everything that, we look at all the other position groups, both sides of the football, this team has got to be able to, whatever it takes, you got to win a minimum of 10 football games.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to. And we don't even know what 10-7, who knows? Like you said, I might just give you a wild card. And you're going to go on the road right away in the playoffs, just like they did a year ago and laid that egg in Houston. So, I mean, those things can't happen again, Ken.
No, they can't. They've got to go further than they did last year, at least by one game, if not more, for it to be a successful 2024 season. All right, Reg, there's a look at the first 53-man roster. Maybe we get together next weekend and we see how much that 53-man roster has changed as they continue to get ready for the Dallas Cowboys on September 8th.
Yeah, I'm getting excited about it. I know football is back with us. We're that close to college football season already began. Florida State top 10 team going down in their college football opener against Georgia Tech. Ohio State gets rolling in a week from this Saturday. No, it's this Saturday.
No, it's this Saturday,
Saturday against the Akron Zips of head coach Joe Moorhead. So, I'm calling my first game on ESPN on Thursday night, Kenny, with the Toledo Rockets, of course, one of the top teams in the MAC. So it's here for us. I mean, I'm like more than ready for it. I know I'm getting to be an old curmudgeon, but summertime is nice, but it's vastly overrated to me. And in this point in time, just get me to the football season.
Yeah, we started our 80th season of high school football on WHBC last week in Oregon, Beaverton, Oregon.
How about that?
On the campus world headquarters of Nike, where the Massillon Tigers played the NFL Academy UK in the Nike Kickoff Classic. And so we got our first game under our belt, and Massillon went out there and won 35-20. And it was a great experience checking out the world headquarters there of Nike.
Nice.
And we're back for week number 2 this week and ready to
have this week.
We have Glen Oak and Massillon. So Massillon's coming back, and they're taking on Glen Oak. So Glen Oak got beat pretty handily last week. So we'll see if they can bounce back this week, and we'll see if the jet lag affects Massillon at all this week. And then we got McKinley the following week. So we're ready to, ratchet it up a few notches when it comes to our high school football coverage.
Massillon, again, still state championship caliber squad in your mind?
Yes. Their lines were not as impressive, but it was only game 1 with a lot of kids leaving. But yes, they'll be in the thick of things in Division II again this year as they try and go back to back. And they've won now, 17 straight games with the win in Oregon. So they'll be right in that Division II race with Avon, with Hoban.
The usual suspects.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Avon, Hoban, Massillon. Those three, for sure. And then we'll see who gets up there with them to the semis.
Yeah, LaSalle down south, Winton Woods, those teams, will be in it as well. But yes, football season is upon us, and we'll be breaking it down here on the RnR podcast. And once the Browns play a regular season game, Michael and I will get together after every game and do a post-game recap of all 17 Browns games this season. All right, Reg, always a pleasure, my friend. Great stuff.
Yeah, you got it. You too. Look forward to it, Ken, and get yourself healthy, man. Have a good week. Get Dr. Feelgood.
Dr. Bilski, yes.
Dr. Bilski. Get him doing his magic work for you, buddy.
Sounds great, Reg. And there you have it, another edition of the RnR podcast in the books here on the Press Play Podcast Network. And again, we want to thank our outstanding producer, Ty Cordts, for getting this all out to you where you get it anywhere podcasts can be found.